Hello, my beautiful people. My name is also Catel. Welcome to another episode of Basic Nigerian History. Let's begin. Now, last episode, we discussed how Shagari's National Party of Nigeria completely demolished and raped the country, destroying the lives of the citizens in the process and leading to the people themselves calling for military intervention. This episode, we're going to talk about how the military intervention came in the form of a young general known as Buhari. Let's begin. On December 31st of 1983, the military overthrew the Second Republic. This is coup number 5. Major General Muhammad Buhari, who was the leader of the Supreme Military Council, the SMC, was the guy that now ran things. Military regimes would continue to oversee the further decline of the Nigerian economy for the next 16 years. It's going to be a long period of military rule from here on out, just so you know, so buckle in and sit tight. New civil society movements and grassroots political activism will pop up as people try to fight back against corrupt rulers. But the regimes going forward will be characterized by high levels of oppression and willingness to suppress criticism by any means necessary. Let's talk about the civil societies first. Civil society organizations formed and spoke out on behalf of the people, as well as providing goods, services, and peace of mind to the average Nigerians that have become completely ignored by their governments. Labor unions did their best to fight the rentier state economic model. Religious organizations grew incredibly as people turned to God to save them from their defeated states. There were pro-democracy organizations pushing for government transparency and a free and fair democratic process. Political and militant groups in Niger Delta fought to gain greater control over oil revenues and their environments, which, by the way, was incredibly polluted because of the lack of regulations in the oil industry. The military regimes used unprecedented levels of oppression and coercion to silence all these complaints, but not all could be put down. Some civil society opposition groups were more than willing to create instability and chaos. They didn't give a damn, and this forced the military regime to address at least some of the public needs. However, the growth of these radical opposition groups meant different groups had radically different agendas, and that often led to fighting with each other as much as with the government. Okay, back to Buhari. Major General Muhammad Buhari believed the key to fixing the issues of the economy and corruption was discipline. To be honest, so did a lot of Nigerians at that time. It was a very popular notion. Similar to Murtala Muhammad, he did little to change the economical structure of Nigeria, which, as we know, was the real problem, and instead focused on trying to get Nigerians to behave better. The idea was if Nigerian government and businesses began working by ethical and legitimate business practices and paying off loans and stuff in a timely manner, then foreign investors would have faith in the nation, and foreign investment, exchange, and trade would all increase and the economy would turn around. So in 1984, he shrank the government to reduce government spending, making 53,000 public sector employees redundant. He reduced local government areas from 1,000 to 301. He controlled inflation of food prices by setting up government rations, which were sold at fixed prices from the government directly to the public. He also expelled 700,000 illegal immigrants and forced state governments to pay the staff what they owed them. He aggressively prosecuted corrupt Second Republic politicians, trialing, convicting, and sentencing them to a long-term imprisonment, most commonly on charges of corruption. To show you how far Buhari was willing to go, he hunted Umaru Dikko, a politician who was the advisor to Shagari and well known for his corrupted ways. Dikko fled to London after the military coup and became one of the most wanted fugitives in Nigeria. Buhari operatives found him in London, drugged him, stuffed him in a crate labelled property of Nigeria, and attempted to fly him out of the country and back to Nigeria. Luckily for Dikko, British authorities discovered the plot and refused to have him extradited. This soured the relationship between Nigeria and UK a little bit. Buhari basically set up a police state. He got the National Security Organization to spy on the military. He introduced the death penalty for drug smuggling, tampering with electric cables and oil pipelines. Long-term prison sentences was also introduced for postal tampering, illegal exporting of produce, and even cheating on certain exams. All cases were tried in military tribunals. He silenced any criticism by introducing new decrees. Anyone considered to be a national security risk can be detained for 3 months, renewable without trial, and any media outlets can be closed down. Also, any journalist detained that is found to be spreading false information or just rumors that might bring embarrassment to the government can get it. He also outlawed strikes and lockouts. Buhari was convinced that he was going to instill the right behavior in Nigeria by force by fire. Patriotism, patience, good sense of work ethics, anti-corruption, importance of environment sanitation. Of course, all of this was a cosmetic covering of a deeper social problem in Nigeria, such as poverty, lack of services and infrastructure, and it was only useful under the watchful eye of the police. The minute the police looked away, people returned to their corrupted ways because the main problem was deeper than that. The state government also used this new movement as an excuse to bring down illegal structures. Shacks and little stores built by petty traders and market people. They forced the poor and homeless out of the city centers. Even though one could claim these policies were all well-intentioned with good motives, he didn't actually address the root problem, and it gave little short-term relief to the Nigerian masses, who were already suffering greatly because of Shagari's shagging. So it all ultimately failed. Even though it severely restricted free speech, people still tried to fight back. The Nigerian Bar Association and the National Association of Nigerian Students and the Nigerian Labour Congress all tried stuff like protest, boycotts. His police detained many people and others were killed in clashes with the police. The economic decline that Shagari had already put in motion continued to make things harder. The International Monetary Fund refused to reschedule the external debt. IMF wanted Nigeria to adopt their Structural Adjustment Program, their SAP, which most African countries in debt around that time had already adopted. Remember, like I said, this SAP program was terrible for the nation, and it would mean the government of this nation would no longer be in charge of their economy. It meant deregulating the economy and devaluing the currency. Buhari was like, no, I'm not going to put the people through this rubbish and sacrifice everything by putting its economy and policy in control of Western creditors. However, by 1985, the government was using 38.7% of its revenue just to service debts. The increase was far too high. It wasn't looking good for Nigeria. And that's where I'm going to leave it today. The reason I'm going to leave it here is because we already know what's coming next, don't we? We already know what's coming next. What do you guys think is coming next? Drop a comment. We love you. Catel out.